map. This looks like a 1913 map that the Ordnance Survey in the Phoenix Park made, and there it is there. So what I'm looking at now is a few photocopies of a map stitched together, and this is the Racecourse Commons in Lusk, which eventually was purchased, where I put my outline of a red, was purchased by the government, by the military, the British military presence in Ireland, and it was a remount farm for training horses for war, and it was one of 5 farms, and this was the one that was in Lusk. One was in South Africa, a few of them are in England, but apparently it had the capacity to train 150 horses all the time. And anyway, this is why we were looking at with Jim. We're looking at the boundary stones, and all along here you have, this is now from Helena Bergen from the county council, who's the heritage officer, and she's at their outlining their boundary line, and that they're marking all the boundary stones, the War Department boundary stones. So the day I was with Jim, we walked down the laneway, which is near the new roundabout, and we observed 2 boundary stones, and then we found number 13, which was up here at the very end of the laneway and has been relocated to someone's house, which is a good thing because it has been saved. This is the stuff that Helena has prepared, and she has prepared for which is the best part of this is that she has a list of the Remount Farm's boundary stones, and she has pointed out where they all are. But this aerial view shows how modern Lusk has kind of impeded on the bit of land that was the Remount Farm, and it shows the first roundabout and the middle roundabout of the Relief Road, which has been called the Remount roundabout. So, and again the outline of the boundary is portrayed by the red markings. The Lusk Remount Farm is suggesting here that 170 acres made up the Remount Farm. And it had been, apparently there's, which I'm not too sure about, but it was a prison prior to that. So it's got a big, long line of history, that little bit of the Racecourse Commons. So I suppose it must have been a racecourse as well. That's obvious in its title. And then it was common, so it's a common land that the people of Lusk could use. But it's great news that firstly I got in touch with Pat Kelly and Jim, and they in turn got in touch with Helena Bergen, who is the County Council, Fingal County Council Heritage Officer, and she has now documented all the stones and the one where they're originally located and whether they have been found or not. So it's good in that sense that it's been recognised that they exist, and that possibly we can move on from there to the other county council departments so they can look after them in due course.
Conservation officers and heritage officers, we're just looking at what are the elements of significant heritage or interesting heritage in the county, and this is one, and how, a mechanism. So it's showing you a marking system that was used by the military. So there's a historical significance to that, a social significance, and a military history significance to it. So it's just kind of outlining that this is how it was done at one point, and relates it to the history of Remount Farm.
Difficult. There's so many pieces of street furniture of various importance and various interests. It's hard to keep up with all the different stuff that's in the environment. But it's good to, I would consider it to be good to highlight that this is another piece of street furniture that perhaps is kind of getting forgotten about, This very laneway, a good few years ago, and I was intrigued, and then I was also telling you about looking at the computer and seeing that the Ordnance Survey now, you can look at their map on the internet for free, and it intrigued me as to what the Remount Farm was. And then I subsequently found out the information that the Lusk Heritage Society were busy detailing it, and they had renamed the roundabout, and they were aware of it, but I was kind of just hoping that it might generate some more interest and maybe preserve one or two of them, because they're good examples of how meticulous, say, a department was back in the 1850s.
So on the old map that you have from, this is the 1910 or the 1909 version, you can see number 9. So there should be another few around us.
Okay.
So that we've come down, driven down here, and we're at this location. So there should be others to the south, and there should have been one on the corner as well. So that's just to get a bearing using this one. Then we know where what we're looking for. The corner that's knocked over.
What, yeah, that one, yeah.
Then the one there, that should be straight up there with the garage. We couldn't see anything.
No, there's nothing there.
Yeah, there should be one there. And there should be ones at the end. So
W, but that war department,
Yeah,
that was back during the war when the Remount Farm was there.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yes.
To a breaker's yard out in Lusk, and I had looked at the map to get directions, and then I just, as I do, I just switched over to the 1913 map, and seeing that the breaker's yard was on the land that used to be called the Remount Farm in Lusk, and that intrigued me. What's the Remount Farm? What is a Remount Farm? And then in the map it showed these kind of items that were called WDSBS. So, and that transpires to turn it to be the War Department boundary stone. So they were numbered. Well, these stones, they started out as markers, and they would have been the Board of Ordnance, which was the body in the British military that looked after all the acquisitions and ownership of military property. And then the Crimea War, the events of the Crimea War, this organisation then in 1950s, 54, 56, the War Department then were given authority. But now I think the Remount Farm came after.